You guys, as an asthmatic, it was rough to watch this movie. I found myself multiple times during this film taking deep breaths as if to reassure myself that I could actually still breathe. That's how tense this movie made me. I'm speaking of the film Last Breath, which is an upcoming movie starring Woody Harrelson and Simu Liu, if I pronounce his name right, whatever. It's an upcoming movie based on a true story. Apparently there was a documentary of this on Netflix. It is not there anymore, but after having seen this film, I'm super interested to watch that documentary. If you've seen the documentary, you already know how this story is going to go. But if you want to be fully captivated by the events that are depicted in this film, then maybe don't watch the documentary. I was so close, you guys. I was getting so tense. I was close to searching on my phone to find out what was going to happen. You know, it's super interesting how this movie pulled off the pacing so well, and I'll touch on that a little bit later, but let me just dive into the synopsis. The basic scenario is it's a team of divers that go out. They have to fix some sort of something on the gas thing, something at the bottom of the ocean, 300 plus feet down, and something goes wrong. One of the divers gets trapped down there, and this story tells of the efforts to try to recover him. There are these issues. There's multifaceted problems that happen. This event happened in the middle of a storm. Now, I have not seen the documentary, so I do not know how much was embellished, if any. So I'm just going based off this movie. A storm was going on. Something happened to cause the divers to need to rush out of the area where they were. And in the process, one of the divers, his umbilical got snagged on something. And this is the problem that started this entire spiral of events that happened. And so you've got Woody Harrelson's character. He's kind of like he's the diver that's down there in what they call the bell, helping the two divers. He's like their communication line in the bell. And Simu Liu was one of the other divers. And so you have those characters in this situation. Then you have the people up top in the ship that are fighting the storm, also fighting the issues that have happened on the ship because of the storm, and dealing with this very, very intense, scary situation with the diver that was trapped on the bottom. Something that I really, really liked about this movie was that it is very tight. There is zero fat on this film. I don't necessarily mind it when there is fat on a film, but the point I'm trying to get across is that this was a very efficiently told movie, and by the time the credits started, it was less than an hour and a half. The total runtime might be an hour and 33, an hour and 35, so of course credits are part of that. At the end of the movie, as the credits begin, they do some wrap-up summary, sort of epilogue-y type stuff, and show real-life video and things like that. So, factor that in. It's only about an hour and a half or less. And yet, somehow it felt so much longer. And I think it's just because of everything that was going on. And it was like there was problem after problem that kept happening, and the mounting tension because this guy was trapped down there and his air supply wasn't going to last forever. And that became apparent very early on in the crisis. This was this very intense film. It happened to be, I'm sorry I didn't introduce the fact that this was Regal's Monday mystery movie. And so I'm filming this on Monday night. Tomorrow, Deleted, Paul, and I believe Corey will be talking about it in our live stream discussion. So this is not going to go up until after that. But I have a feeling all of us probably liked it. I just get that feeling. Sometimes Paul gets a little chatty about his thoughts before we actually have our live stream. But I think that it's probably clear to all of us that we all liked it. I was getting so tense in the middle of what was going on that I texted them in the middle of it, and I was just like, Jesus, because it was just oh my gosh, you guys, oof. And it's not like we haven't seen true life catastrophe stories before, or true life, serious situation, scary situation, drama films before. But the way this was done was so effective in just ratcheting up that tension, but not doing it in a way that it felt cheesy. So it worked really, really well. Something else I appreciated throughout the course of this pacing that I'm talking about, it felt longer than it really was. You felt attached to these characters, to all of these main characters, especially the three divers that were more directly involved in this situation. There were other divers, but I don't even know that they got a chance to do their stuff because the situation happened pretty early on. But they take their time in the beginning to very efficiently let you know the situation that is involved, or the danger that's involved in this type of job. They tell you that it's one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. Gee, I wonder how many feminist women are clamoring for a job like this. Probably a big fat zero statistically. Then they take the time to show you what goes into preparing the human body for a dive like that. Obviously, they don't just throw you down in the bottom of the ocean. I mean, I knew that anyway, because the little that I picked up over the years watching movies about deep sea stuff, you know that the body has to acclimate to these depths. Well, because they're going to be so deep, they get put into this tube-like chamber that they have to live in. Now, I might have misheard. I thought they said 28 days, but they probably said 28 hours. That sounds a bit more, I don't know. I might have completely misheard. I'll try to remember to ask that when we're having our live stream. But whatever, for an extended amount of time, they have to stay in this tube-like area, and they're adjusting the gas, the air, where they are to get their bodies acclimated, ready for this dive. Then they go into the bell, and then they go down to a certain level, whatever. So it's something that takes its time. And there's a lot of care that goes into doing this safely. I liked how they showed all of these things. And I'm sure there's probably quite a bit of stuff that was left out, but it imparted to the audience very effectively what is involved, at least giving us a superficial but realistic enough understanding of what's involved in this kind of work. You're feeling the tension just watching them prep, because number one, you know this is going to be a story about something bad that happens when these people are on a dive, but number two, just by watching this, you understand how dangerous it is, and so scary. Oh my gosh. Very effective use of lighting, because when you're on the bottom of the ocean floor, you have no light except for whatever you've taken yourself. So I liked how it was realistic in showing this. When he's trapped at the bottom, all he has is this flare, and everything around him is dark. And you don't see light unless there's someone down there with a light. So they don't artificially light this environment that he's in. I don't know how they filmed this, but it was very realistic. Just little simple touches like that get across to you very succinctly how immense the location is and how terrifying the environment is. I mean, we're just like little tiny, not even the size of an ant in the midst of something like the ocean. It was just like, it's just so, when you stop and think about how small we really are, at the same time, the great accomplishments that have been accomplished by beings as small as us on this earth. It's I don't know, it makes your mind go places when you put yourself, or you see a story set in an environment like this. Another thing that I appreciated, even though it did feel quite obvious that this was happening, this could potentially go in the con category, but it's a little unfair to call it a con. There are moments where there's exposition that is being given to you through dialogue that the characters are having with each other. Well, what if we do this? Well, we can't do this because we need X amount of time to get such and such done. Now, granted, in real life, these characters wouldn't need this explained to them. They would already know what the problem is and the complications with trying to fix it, and the problems that are generated by the length of time that you have to wait. So they don't need to be told that. We need to be told that. This information is fed to us through characters who don't really need to be telling each other this, but somehow it's got to be known to the audience. I feel like that was handled probably about as well as it could be handled. At the same time, it was obvious that it was only being done just to kind of give the audience a little bit of a tutorial on what the stakes were and how this operated. Like I said, it's a little unfair to call it a con, but when those moments happened, it did feel very obvious, oh, this is just an exposition dump. It wasn't something that happened all the time, and it wasn't something that when it happened, it went on at length, but it was obvious that's what it was. Kind of hard to fault the film for that. You know, how else are we going to know these things? Because well, why don't you do this? Well, there's a reason why certain things can't be done in a certain way. So, you know, it's like I said, it's not really fair to call it a con. This is another mystery movie that has been quite impactful for me. I enjoyed this one a lot. And it's just continuing the trend of 2025 being a pretty good year so far for me at the theater. There's been one movie that has been an absolute stinker, and I hated it so much. And I made no secret of that, and that was Love Hurts. Every other movie, not counting that, I have enjoyed. Some I've enjoyed more than others. But this is another Regal mystery movie. And you guys, if you are in an area where you can take advantage of this, because now Cinemark is doing it too. They might have played this as well. The same movie. I went to the Regal because I have unlimited membership with them, but the ticket is only $5. So it's a very cheap night out to the theater and potentially being able to watch something that you really, really enjoy. And not only that, but being able to see a movie before most of the rest of the country is introduced to it. Last Breath comes out this coming weekend. And after having seen this, I'm going to try to find that documentary. Did I already say that? I might have. I did already look for it, but like I said, it's not on Netflix. So I'll have to figure out where else it is. But I feel like watching that will be a really interesting supplement to this film. So I'm definitely recommending this film. It is rated PG-13, but not necessarily because there's anything that isn't suitable for kids. I don't remember if they have any curse words in it or whatever. I mean, there's no like violence or anything. There's definitely scary situations, might be a little intense, some parts for really little kids, but it's certainly a family friendly film, and I do think it's worth the watch, and it doesn't take a lot of time either. So it's not like you're gonna have your butt in the seat for 3 hours or anything like that. So yeah, I liked it enough. I wanted to do a separate review for it, but that's about all I have to say now about Last Breath. If you check it out, share your thoughts. If you've seen the documentary and you watched the film, I'm very curious to find out how you feel those two compare. I'm gonna probably do a deep dive, oh, no pun intended, a deep dive into the comparisons between real life and this one. How much was dramatized, you know, what was omitted, what was added, stuff like that. But yeah, that's all I have to say for now. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Later.